Hi, it's Kip Finlay-Bates here, and video 3 in a series on stablecoins. So in video 1, I looked at the meaning of the word stable, and in video 2, I looked at the simplest way to create a stablecoin, namely to back it with a real-world asset. And that leads me on to this video, video 3, in which what we need to do is consider what is the backing asset in the real world doing in order to stabilize a stablecoin. And one way of looking at it is that it forms the collateral of a loan, that by locking up a real world asset such as dollars, we are giving a stablecoin provider permission to mint the equivalent amount of stablecoins. So they're effectively borrowing and minting the stablecoin against the real world asset. And once you think of it like that, then you can ask the question, well, what kind of assets could I use? Could I use an asset that is actually on the blockchain? Because if I can, that allows for automatic auditing. Rather than some auditing firm having to go in and check that a company actually has a vault full of the dollars that are needed to back their stablecoin, or for a custodial bank to hold them on behalf of the stablecoin minter, anybody would be able to go and audit the assets that are held in order to determine whether or not the stablecoin is really fully backed and should therefore be stable. And this is exactly the thing that dApps such as MakerDAO have done, and it forms the foundation of the method whereby they create their stablecoin. The term they use is soft pegged to the dollar. So the DAI, the stablecoin of the MakerDAO system, is described as being soft pegged to the dollar. And the reason for this is that the backing for DAI is actually in the form of other assets on the blockchain. And because there's a risk that the value of these assets will fluctuate wildly, in order to mint and borrow DAI, you have to lock up significantly more in value of your backing crypto asset than you would have to do in the real world. And in fact, typically it is recommended that you lock up twice the dollar value of your crypto asset as the amount of DAI that you mint. Now, MakerDAO uses a lot of different techniques in order to keep the stablecoin stable, and has a number of different insurance systems in place in order to handle sudden catastrophic events like the rapid collapse of the value of one of these crypto assets. But the fundamental principle is this, that you lock up X thousand dollars worth of a crypto asset, and that allows you to create X over 2,000 DAI coins, which are equivalent to dollars. And there was one thing that I now need to mention. Oh yes, you need to know what the value of those crypto assets is, and for that they use oracles. There are dApps and there are companies out there that provide data as to the current real market value of various crypto assets on the various exchanges and feed it into the Ethereum system. And as long as you can trust those oracles, you know what the dollar value of Ether or whatever other token you want to talk about is. And that means that you can keep an eye on the over-collateralized loan and start kicking in processes to liquidate that loan and retrieve things if a sudden market value shift downwards happens and these DAIs are no longer backed by enough collateral to keep their price reliable. As I said, there are a bunch of other tweaks and subtleties that MakerDAO uses. It's quite a complicated system, and it will take you several days, I think, to fully grasp what's going on. But that's the foundation of it. Instead of using a real-world asset and linking it to an on-chain token or coin, you use an on-chain token or coin that has a known value as the asset for backing up the stable coin. And then you use a whole load of other stuff in order to keep the stablecoin steady and to ensure against sudden volatility in the backing asset. And that's why it's called soft pegging, because it's like 2 hops from your stablecoin via a crypto asset to an off-chain asset. Anyway, I hope that made things a bit clearer. In the next video, I'll be looking at another technique that is used to mechanically provide a stablecoin rather than relying on auditors. And I hope to see you in that one soon. Bye for now.